Okay. Give me a second just to set up everything. Here. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming this evening for our supper on there. The idea is that we can enjoy and digest some very nice and important information. This is our idea today. Just for the people, for you that are here on the room, it will be quite strange, quite rare that I will be here sitting just because I want to watch this camera that is there in the phone. But the microphone is in this computer, so we need to adapt. This is not only we need to adapt to the climate change, also to the technology. So we are in technology adaptations today. Today we have our second activity, our second training at the same time, to know a little more about our project. Last time I explained the project in depth. Today I just want to give you a very brief overview about the project. Yes, and so the idea is that it will be recorded so we can use it later. After I explain you the project, we have our guest speaker that he is already connected. It's Chris Hauser, Professor Chris Hauser, and he will explain us about all the COSTI program. That is a very exciting program in which we can obtain data from everybody to know more about the coastlines. And after his presentation, we will have a question and answer activity, so you can ask everything to him about the COSTI, about how does it work, about everything. And this will be the part that we will record in Zoom. Later, we have some kind of small, like a workshop, because one of the goals for today is that we can know better about our coastal location and our monitoring teams. And we hope that everything will go in the right direction. So at 7 p.m., we will be free to go to the place that we decide. So let's start. Our project is the nickname of the project is the whole Healthy Coast Project. But this is the nickname because the whole name is quite longer. It's training the Eastern Shore parishes for coastal ecosystem protection and climate change preparedness through citizen science. In short terms, is about the nature, and nature is a creation of God, and we need to protect nature because it's a creation of God. This is the first line, but it's about faith, but it's also about science. You can be in one or in both of them. The idea is that nature is everything that why we are here, and especially the coast. Okay, an overview about our project. Just give a second to my computer. It's not faster as I. The aims of the project is first that we have a community monitoring, means that this is a project that is based on communities. We want to have some local leaderships related with climate change and with coastal conservation, especially the ecosystem, and some standardized data. Our idea is that here, as you can see in this AI image, here we have a church close to the coast, and we have here a signs that is not really healthy coast. Because we have here some piers. Okay, but I know that because I'm a coastal scientist. Okay, the idea is that in very short time, you will be also able to recognize these patterns on the coast. The scope of this project is based on citizen science in coastal monitoring. It means that the idea is that you, as a citizen, you will collect the data, analyze the data, also have the interpretation of the data But also the idea that have a coastal monitoring, it means that it's not just to collect data once. The idea is that will be for a long term, but also is policy oriented in the way that we want to have better decisions, to make better decisions. And also is climate related, because climate change is real and we need to adapt to the climate change. Our target community for this project is the Eastern Shore, but we are focused on the Cheat Harbor, and especially in the borders, in the administrative borders, we say that the Port Dufferin Parish. But the idea is that we won't be just located here. The idea is that we, at the end of the project, we cover from McNabb Island to Canso Islands, from island to islands, the whole Eastern Shore. We have 4 stages. The first stage is the engagement part. We want that all the community, we were speaking here right now, the people that will be seeing the recording, right now we're in the Legion, and it is a very nice place to do activities. Really thank you to the Legion that brought us this space. And we have a conversation about that. We want to involve at least the 1% of the population here of Cheat Harbor. So we need to continue this engagement stage. And I think the engagement stage won't finish until the end. It means that we will receiving always new volunteers, but with you that you are here in the room, you are our leaders now. And the idea that we can invite more people from our community. The second stage will be the training. Today we will start part of the training, but we will have the most part of the training during June. The third stage is about the monitoring and data validation, in which we will go to the coastal sites, we will collect the data, and we will analyze together the data in a way that you can understand this data. And the last stage will be reporting and communication. It means that we will show to everybody, it will be around October, November, that we will show to everybody what we discovered with our data. Just to finish here, I think we can skip this one. Which parameters we will measure? We want to measure the beach profiles. This is about the slope of the beach, the weather conditions, and we will have some automatic weather stations to do that. About the waves and the currents, it's important to know the ocean dynamics. The biota, especially the flora and the fauna, we will use in the phone or a tablet for doing everything. And the beach leader will be ideal that we can make some measure about that, about our impact. The outcomes and the impact of the project that we expect is first a social outcome. The most important social outcome is that if you learn more about the coast and you can start speaking with the coast, you know, that you go to the beach and you have a very nice conversation. Normally I have conversation with the beach. This will be perfect. This is the idea, that you can start conversation with nature and to understand why the nature have some behavior or another. Of course, our environmental outcome will be that we want to protect the ecosystem because we depend on the ecosystem. Some institutional outcomes in the way that we can make better decisions, while better informed. Finally, the community preparedness with climate change. One of the things in our next guest speaker in June will be Jim Abraham, that he is a meteorologist. He will explain us, for example, why it's important to know the rainfall, because we can forecasting our well, and it will be dry or not, just with very simple data that we can collect as a citizen scientist. So we can be better prepared for future situations. I have here 2 books that I will show you later about the Hurricane Juan. Some of you surely remember very well about this hurricane. And another that is a comic book about climate change and how the kids, like we have, I'm very happy that we have here some kids in the room, how we can involve everybody, here from 5 years old to 95 years old, maybe older. Everybody could be here because all of us, we can support this project. And just to finish, I think I can jump directly to our map. Give me a second. Just try to move here. Yeah. But give me a second. I just try to hide the video panel. No. I want to show you the map.
The floating meeting.
Here, thank you. Great. Just to finish about the project, this is the map of our study area. This is again the borders of the Port Dufferin parish from Moose River to Cheat Harbor. In this map that you can access to the map, I will send you I think I already sent to the volunteers that were in our previous activity. I will send you to the new volunteers this map. And in this map, as you can see, we have here the 4 churches that we have here, the Anglican churches. But also we have 5 coastal locations. Then these 5 coastal locations are our goal. That if you pick in one of these coastal locations, for example, the number 4, is in Turner Island, and it's a small description about the beach and also the monitoring team. For example, this coordinated by Leon. Leon is here with us. And the idea is that we will creating these monitoring teams. So the idea is that just to show you more of our volunteer, here is the Sober Island. And we have here Moray, that is also part of our attendance here in the room. And our plan is that we will have from 3 to 5 monitors at least in each of these 5 coastal locations, coastal sites, with the goal that we will start monitoring during the summer. But the plan is that after summer, in September, we won't stop there. The idea is to continue the monitoring, but not as a part of the project, but as a normal habit that we have normally as a coastal habitants, because we are living just on the front of the coast, and we are depending on the coast, and the coast depends on us. These general terms about our project. Just to have some news, especially for you that you were in our previous activity, that last time we were looking for a local assistant, and now we have here a local assistant, Angela. So Angela will be with us here also in the project, and she will be the more frequent face that you will see here in Cheat Harbor. I will be on the cloud, virtually in somewhere, always on the Eastern Shore, sure. But she will be here in person in Cheat Harbor. And that is just an overview about the project. I want to pass the microphone and also the attention to our guest speaker, that is Professor Chris Hauser. So I just want to stop sharing. And hi, Chris, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, and we can hear you. Yeah, the room is yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for inviting me this evening. I will note first off that you might hear a bit of background noise. I am currently in the middle of the rainforest in Costa Rica with 17 students doing some field work. And we have a thunderstorm passing by, and obviously I'm going to potentially have some toucans, etc., flying by. So again, I do apologize for the background noise. My name is Chris Hauser. I'm the Dean of Science at the University of Waterloo, as well as a professor in the Department of Earth and Environmental Science And we're going to be talking today about a program called Coasty that we first started when I was at the University of Windsor, but I've continued it on here at the University of Waterloo. And a large part of it is being done by Elizabeth George, a PhD student of mine, who is still at the University of Windsor, but will be finishing up this year. And she is actually on site in Prince Edward Island doing field work currently involving the Coasty program. Now, this Coasty program is based upon many decades of research that we have been doing, better understanding how coastline systems within Canada, the Gulf of Mexico, within the Caribbean, have been changing, and what that means ultimately in the future, and what can we do to improve data quality, to understand coastal resilience. Now, as some background here, my main area of research as a coastal geomorphologist is I look at how sand moves between the near shore, the beach, and the dune, and what that ultimately means for coastal resilience with sea level rise, with storm activity, with changes in sea ice and lake ice. How are these systems going to respond, such as this at Brackley Beach on Prince Edward Island? In addition, we're also looking at sites, and we also do work looking at rip currents, better understanding how and where rip currents form, what that means in terms of safety, and what we can do to improve beach safety by improving the signage that is placed on beaches throughout Canada to reduce the number of drownings and need for rescue. In addition to that, we do a lot of work with respect to boat wakes and better understanding what they mean in smaller inland lakes or fetch limited environments. And we look at issues such as coastal flooding, such as Wasaga Beach here on Lake Huron. Again, better understanding how this coastal system is changing, how current development is interfering or potentially interacting with that transfer of sediment between the nearshore, beach, and dune. We're also doing a lot of work right now on bluff retreat along the north shore of Lake Erie. And this is one of the spots that we are going to be installing coasty stations this coming year as a way to better track bluff retreat within this environment. These bluffs are not only retreating on an average of 4 meters per year, but they are providing nutrients into that water column that is believed to be causing large toxic algal blooms, as well as hypoxia or low oxygen zones that are killing fisheries. So I apologize for the noise there in the background, but we're also doing this with respect to changes in wave activity as well as changes in sea ice and lake ice. And I do apologize, I skipped over those 2 slides. I did not realize that they had a volume on in the background, and it was too much to try to do here on this webinar. One of the biggest issues that we are facing throughout Canada, throughout the world, is this idea of increased storm activity. Are these large storms coming through at a greater rate? And if they are, can that coastal system actually recover? And as you know, in recent years, you've gone through Hurricane Dorian, you went through Hurricane Ike, and how did that system, how is that system affected? How is that system recovering? We just can't be everywhere at all times. And that's why we need your help in a coastal or citizen science program such as Coasty, because you become the eyes and the ears for our ability to measure coastal change. And so this is what we saw. Because of Coasty, we were able to watch the coast along, particularly on the north shore of PEI, change dramatically during Hurricane Fiona, that as it came through. Fiona came through, you had these large dune systems that were formed, and ultimately that dune system was eroded back about 10 meters, considerable loss of volume. And what we're looking at now is, are these systems able to recover? Will that sand come back? The photographs that I'm showing in these 2 slides actually come from one of the coasty stations and was by people who went out to the beach just before Fiona hit and just after Fiona hit. And so this is why we installed this program called Coasty. Now, this idea of photo monitoring is something that is being used for 100 years or more. And in fact, a large part of it is being done to look at ecological change. So there are these monitoring systems or photo monitoring systems throughout the world that are looking at forests and how do they regenerate, as well as in many provincial parks within Ontario. Photo monitoring was used to better understand how those systems were changing, both in terms of the vegetation, but also the coastline. Parks Canada several years ago wanted to get into this photo monitoring program, but and partner with a university. Now, photo monitoring is used as a program called CoastSnap out of the University of New South Wales, of which Coastie is a broader part of. The only issue is that CoastSnap has its images stored on American servers, which means it is subject to the Patriot Act. So we created Coastie as an initial stopping point for CoastSnap images, working with Parks Canada so that all images are stored on a Canadian server, and only those images that are most relevant to understanding coastal change would in fact be uploaded to the overall global CoastSnap program. Coastie is a very straightforward program. As part of CoastSnap, you simply put your phone into one of these small little phone holders, you take a photograph, and you now have a photograph that everybody else has used that station has also now taken, which means that we can rectify the images easily. We can look at how those systems are in fact changing. Those images are then uploaded to our Coastie website, coastiecanada.ca. And on that site, you then just simply use the QR code on the sign, take the photograph, use the QR code, upload it to the Coastie site, whether immediately after taking the photograph while you're still on the beach, or when you get home at a later point. We are able to use the metadata off of your phone, your image, to better understand where and when that photograph was in fact taken. We only use photographs that do not include facial features and therefore are not something that anybody can be identified. So we are not looking for Coastie photographs in which you are actually taking a selfie. The words are very similar and it's purposeful in that, but we're actually not looking for people to be in our images. We want to be able to actually track that coastline. Coastie has a number of sites around Canada already, from Puckasaw to Terra Nova to Cape Breton and the Bruce Peninsula, and we are moving to Pacific Rim this year, as some other sites that I will show you in a few minutes. So in that, we currently have a number of sites across the Maritimes in particular, as well as future sites that are popping up within the Great Lakes region. As I mentioned, we are also moving out to the Pacific Rim, as well as onto the North Shore of to the Arctic shoreline. It already is the North Shore, to that Arctic shoreline. And we're looking for any other sites that people are willing to set up one of our coastal monitoring stations and help us in monitoring coastal change, both in terms of taking the photograph, but also in analyzing the data. The data is not just for us to use in our images. The data is free and available to any community organization, government agency, whoever may want to use that information. What we are doing is we are providing a platform by which the photographs are taken, stored, and made available for analysis. Currently, we have 12 national parks and managed areas within the coastal network. We have 36 stations, and as of this morning, we have more than 5,200 photographs taken since October of 2021. And you may have seen more about this program after Hurricane Fiona on the national, both CBC and CTV, CTV Morning, CBC Radio, and the Globe and Mail is a forthcoming program. We've also have a number of scientific papers and presentations that use our photographs, both in terms of from our own research group, but anybody else who is actually working on those beaches that needs access to the photographs. Here's an example of one of the photographs. This is of Cavendish Beach. This was literally taken about 1 hour ago from Cavendish and by one of the citizen scientists on the beach. They went to Cavendish, they put their phone into the holder, and they've taken that photograph. This allows us to not only look at that dune system, how it is recovering after Fiona, it allows us to better understand the distribution of rocks, the rack material that's on there, where's the tide, etc., and even be able to spot rip currents. This is a photograph of Ingonish from earlier this week, and this is Ingonish looking south. Again, somebody took this photograph. We're able to look at individual cobbles and how they are moving, as well as to how that shape of the beach is changing. And then finally, one that was also taken yesterday, and this is Point Pelee, the southernmost point of mainland Canada, in Lake Erie. And this is the photograph looking at the actual point. And what we're doing here is better understanding how Point Pelee is eroding, but also the very dynamic nature of that point and what may happen depending upon storm activity, as well as changes in lake level. So it's invaluable data. So again, this is the image I showed you before. This is Brackley Beach in PEI. This is the day before Hurricane Fiona hit. And this is what it looked like the day after, as soon as somebody was able to get out to the site. We're able to capture how much erosion actually took place, and we're able to calculate the volume of sediment. One of the things that we do is wherever a station is established, we will then run a full drone survey over top of that site. From that drone survey, we are able to rectify that image, put it into 3 dimensions, and by doing so, we can actually calculate not only how that system changed, but also what volume of sediment may have been lost or may have been gained. And so now you can see after 1 month, after Hurricane Fiona, some of the sand beginning to come back. Within about another year, how sand is starting to pile up at the base of the dunes. And ultimately, how management effects are being put into place is kind of fence line that's putting down, new vegetation is starting to recover, and whether that sand is being replaced. Same thing with Cavendish. You can start to look at how that system has changed just through time, not only just with big storm events, but from season to season, from storm to storm. And from that, basically what we're doing is we're looking at dune erosion and growth. We're looking at the rack line, we're looking at the shoreline, and in fact are able to also identify rip currents, such as this one that is right there in that photograph. So we're able to identify hazards within the water. So the way we do it is we can measure shoreline change, and it's a very simple straight process that we use. It's a program that can be downloaded onto your computer directly from CoastSnap, in which the edge of the shoreline, you can see the reds and the pinks here on that shoreline, and how that system is actually changing, and not only changing at one location, but all along the shoreline in which we have done that drone survey to be able to record the change. And so in this particular site, we're able to see that there are some areas where, in fact, the beach has actually grown by 6 meters. But over a longer period of time, as we go to winter 2022, after a winter storm, we can see that that beach has actually lost 23 meters. We can do this on a tidal scale. We can do it on a storm scale. We can do it on a seasonal scale. We're able to measure that direct erosion. We can also then look at it, as I said, during these winter storms, or we can look at it, things such as Hurricane Fiona. Once we look at the beach erosion, we can also look at how much sediment was in fact lost. So this is where Camilo is looking for participation and ability to monitor along that south shore of Nova Scotia, is that you can establish your own stations. You can participate by going to one of our sites or establish one of your stations at a site that you want to monitor yourselves. For an existing station, if you go to one of our sites, you simply can explore the different coastal systems, measure shoreline change, etc. So if you're interested in establishing your own site, you may want to use one of our existing sites to play with the data, to look at the images, to figure out how you can actually measure the change. All the data that we collect is available to anybody who wants to use it. So you would have access to all historical and current imagery. You would have all of the drone-based surveys. They're called GCP and DEM surveys for rectification. You could get to that level where you can make it into 3 dimensions. We'll also provide you a video tutorial on how to rectify and extract the images. We also have free and available videos available for coastal change and processes. And I'm more than happy to come in and do guest lectures talking about essentially how coastal systems change in the first place. Or, as you're looking at doing on your own site, is establish your own station. You can monitor coastal change at a site of interest. It could be shoreline change, ice cover and extent, vegetation cover, coastal usage, could be debris and pollution. You could then eventually build these GIS-based activities to monitor and establish so that you are collecting all the data yourself, you're doing the drone surveys, and then ultimately creating the 3-dimensional model that can be used to measure shoreline change. If you decide to establish your own station, we will provide you a sign and a stand for your station. If needed, we will do a drone and a ground control point survey. We will provide you free data storage for the imagery that is uploaded using a QR code. We'll again provide you the video tutorial on how to rectify and extract the images, the coastal process and change videos. Again, also the guest lectures. In the future, we are moving beyond just that of coastal change. We are also moving into river monitoring. So basically, if you've got a natural system, we are more than happy to establish one of these. Wouldn't be called coasty. I don't know what we'd call the river monitoring site, but it would be establishing one of these sites, and you could then measure shoreline river change and erosion along the rivers. And starting this coming summer, we are also establishing sites with BC parks to monitor glaciers in many of the provincial parks. And we're going to be looking at how they are retreating, how they're changing in form, and what that might mean in terms of kind of this change in that local microclimate. And given that the rain just really started to set in here in the rainforest, I'm going to mute myself and open it up to any questions in the chat or directly that you might have for me.
Thank you, Chris, for your presentation. Perfect. I think in the chat, I don't know if we have questions there. Where is the chat? Okay. Okay, no, we don't have questions from the chat. And any questions here in the room? Can you hear Chris about the comment? Not. No, that just here Kelly said. It could the river monitoring could be called RIPI or something like related with the river. Yeah, it's one of the comments here. No, you have any questions about the program? Okay, now just to inform to everybody that the ideas Chris said is that we have at least one coastal station here in Sheet Harbor, where we need to arrange everything with the group of Chris, because as you can see, it's easy to take the picture. The idea that the citizen can do it easily, but because these signs at the end, we need some accuracy. So it's not just to have a pole. It needs all the GPS and all the drone, etc. So we need to do some arrangement. But until now, we need to define better later. But the idea that we have in San Andrews Church, that is just the church that's in front to the coast. And we have the road, we have some erosion, we have some seawalls, but we have a very interesting sandbar. That I think it could be a very nice location to have our coastal station. So we will see during the project. We just need to, again, to have some arrangement with Chris and to analyze the site. But this is just the beginning, this presentation. So
that sandbar you're talking about, that is not a sandbar.
yeah.
No, that's a mussel bar.
It's a mussel bar.
It's a mussel bar.
Oh, great.
That's been near 50 years like that.
Yeah. I was trying to see some of the pictures, on the historical pictures, and the bar is always there. So the satellite picture from the 70s is the bar still there. So it's nice to know that this could be a mussel bar that now with sand looks like a sandbar, could be a sandbar. But Chris, do you want to say something? Yeah.
Yeah, what I want to say is that if people have historical imagery, we can rectify those images based upon the drone surveys that we've taken recently, if there's enough structure. So historical images can in fact be added to the coastie site as well, regardless of where their perspective is.
Yeah, okay, great to know. So maybe we can do a photo contest that who has the oldest picture of this mussel sandbar that we will call for now. Yeah, that is in front to the, you know, that is the new marina, you know, that after the Marine Drive, the school, you continue to, and it's a loop that is called the San Andrews Loop. And there is some kind of bar that you can see just in low tide. Yeah, that this is also interesting, that is only visible in low tide. So it will be also nice to know which is the dynamic of this bar, and also if it's moving or not, if it is increasing or is decreasing during the time. Yeah, could be. And now that the good news is that now just with taking picture, you know, the next time that you receive your relatives, you say, do you want to do some science? Okay, let's go to take a picture about the bar. Yeah. Okay.
For the drone footage that they do, is it only their program Coasty that can do drone footage, or do they accept drone footage from volunteers?
Can you ask yeah, because it's quite long question.
Hi there, I'm Angela. I have a question regarding your drone surveys that you do. Is it only Coasty program that can do the drone surveys, or do you accept citizen science volunteer drone surveys?
More than happy for anybody to do the drones. We would then provide guidance on what is the best kind of sampling strategy so that we
Yeah.
can make sure that we've got as strong of an image as possible. And it depends upon the type of drone that is also being done. In terms of, are you just using a very simple drone like a DJI Mini or Maverick? If you are, then there's a certain protocols that we would do with that. That would include GPS, but if there was access to an RTK system, then we would have a different protocol for that. But we are more than happy for people to fly their drones.
Okay, great. Good to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. You have a question?
Yeah, my name is Rob.
Yeah, maybe I can.
How are the locations chosen? There are several on the map we saw. That many locations have already been chosen, or would there be a process whereby they're chosen? What is that process? I'm talking about in the Sheet Harbor area.
So
Yeah,
from my perspective, that's a Camilo question, but from my perspective, it's what's most of interest to you. We have no particular ideas as to what would be used in the Sheep Harbor, so I would leave that to you guys to make that decision.
Yeah, no. So yeah, it's true that because there are. I think it's important. It's a shared decision between Chris in the sense of that it will be useful for COSI because not all the places are possible to have a station, but it mainly is our decision. So what is important first that we have some beach, because here on the eastern shore we don't have many beaches. This is a rocky shore at the end, you know. Sand beaches, yeah, exactly. This is very important. Beaches. Exactly, we have boulder beaches, we have some gravel beaches. Maybe gravel beaches we can use it, but boulder beaches like this beach, this long bar in the Oyster Island, sorry, the Sober Island is not useful for this kind of for our project because as was explained, as bigger is the sediment, more it means that more energy was needed to put there. So if we have, imagine in this Sober Island beach, we have is boulders because the energy there was huge. And during the storm or during the winter has huge waves. So also when we have bigger sediments, also the slope, as you remember, there is Sober Island, the slope of the beach is very steady. Yeah, so we need first some kind of sand or gravel beach, better sand than gravel. Ideally, also the steward of the beach is important. I always say that I quite. It's not for me. I'm from Colombia, and for us, all beaches are public. Here is quite different. Here in the province in Nova Scotia, present tourism, they always remember me that it's very important to have the permission to do everything on a beach because, and so we need, for example, in our coastal site proposal now in Sober Island is in a property that is the neighbor of Murray, just because we need that the steward agree that we are collecting data that.
We have to change that because they don't want,
Okay.
they don't want any property, any part of their property need to be worked.
Oh,
No, I checked with them.
yeah,
And they
okay.
can't do that because if they say no,
Yeah, they say no. Yeah.
we'll have to put another sign.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these are the kind of challenge, it's not just to go in Google Earth and Google Map and say, okay, nice beach, we're gonna go there. And maybe the owner say, no, not in my property. So we need to change the.
So how that site be chosen, who's involved in choosing the site?
Initially, I will suggest some locations, but the final decision will be done by us. Because as I told you, the idea is that this monitoring will last forever. So we need that the people that is living in front of the coast, that you decide, because will be some location that is comfortable for you. Because monitoring at the beginning is very nice, very exciting because so new. But after 3, 4, 5 months that you go monthly, you start to feel tired. So it's important, it's also comfortable for you, but it will be our decision. In this case specifically, not, especially because we don't have here a provincial park. The closer is the Taylorhead, but it is outside of our coverage now. The idea is that in the future, we could have some monitoring also with provincial parks. But for now, we are covering just the Cheat Harbor area, but it would be great to have them involved.
There's a message in the chat.
It's a message in the chat, okay. One new message. Now we have few minutes left for this meeting. Thank you. Yeah. Any other comment, question? Kelly?
This is a UN first question around location and number of photos. How do you balance that? Because a photo.
Could you ask directly to Chris? Because it's easier to him to listen to you.
I actually could not hear the question at a distance from the microphone.
I ate too many sandwiches, sorry. I wondering about, this is a Camilo and you question around the location is important, but balancing that with the number of photos. So what's an ideal number of photos, let's say in a year, from your experience with research? And this is over time, because Camilo's research interest is around tourism, right? And bringing people to this place, being a destination, maybe a coasty tour or a rivy tour would be of interest to ecological tourists, but the number I'm interested in. And thanks for the presentation, Chris.
So to give you an example, Point Pelee, the tip of Point Pelee is our most popular site. It just got established last year. And through the summer, we're probably getting 10 to 20 photographs a day. Now, it's a little redundant on the number of photographs, but at least we're getting those photographs and we can watch it on a daily basis. Other locations, we are quite a distance off the trail. You really have to hike in Newfoundland to get to one of our sites in Gros Morne, but we're still getting photographs at least once a week. And that is sufficient based upon that particular site. Other one, Kelly's Boardwalk at Kishibequek, that one there, we're getting probably once a month. But that one is a dynamic system. So it is one of those ones where you want to place it in a location where people are going to walk by on a daily basis or a weekly basis and are contributing to that photograph. But it really depends upon how dynamic that system is. If it's a dynamic system like Brackley Beach and Cavendish, yeah, we want that site on a regular basis because we want to know exactly when the wind blew. We want to know exactly when that high tide might have moved sediment from the to the upper beach. For other locations that are, for example, Ingonish on those gravel beaches, it doesn't change that much. It changes during big storms, and so we don't have to worry about that on a regular basis. So those kind of sites, even if it's at a location that's only getting once a week or every 2 weeks, that's still sufficient in which we can still do some meaningful analysis. So it's about how quickly that system is changing, how often do people go there, and making sure that it's at a site that people understand as to why they're taking that photograph.
Thank you, Chris, for the answer. Any other comment, question? Okay, thank you very much, Chris, for your time, for your expertise,
Thank
and
you.
hopefully we will have you here in Cheat Harbor soon.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I've got some students going into the rainforest right now, so I'm about to get my rubber boots on and
Just say them.
check in and make sure that they're safe.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna add, just while I'm thinking about it, Camilo, did you get the names and contact information for people who are attending? Little bit of a.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye, Marianne. We continue here offline.
I'll just hang around and listen if I can hear it.
Okay. Yeah, you can. Yeah, hopefully you can listen. Okay, perfect. Okay, now this is it was the first part. Now the second part. This second part.